Good afternoon, I am Howard from Muse Games, and the focus of my talk will be how Kickstarter helped us, a small team with a big project, Guns to Icarus Online. So a little bit about Guns to Icarus Online is a weird and crazy combination of steampunk, airship, and combat. So you are part of a crew battling against other airship and other crews. You serve, each member of the crew serves a different role. So there's a captain that pilots and scouts for the enemy. There is an engineer that repairs when everything is blown to pieces, and a gunner that shoots a variety of turret weapons. So as a team, you have to work together for the supremacy of the sky. It's highly team-based, but it's also competitive. For a little bit of our Kickstarter campaign, we actually did it before the whole Double Fine phenomenon happened. Bummer. But at the time we finished, it was actually the 8th highest funded game, as Joe actually pointed out. But we only raised $35,000 with 352% funded. So obviously that wasn't enough to cover our development costs. It's only a small fraction of it. So how did Kickstarter actually benefit us? And that's really the focus of my talk today. Before Guns to Icarus Online, we actually did a smaller scope project, so a precursor to the project that we're working on now. It was 4 people, about 5 months, and we put it up on Steam and Mac App Store. So compared to that old project, the new project was actually a lot bigger in scope in every conceivable way. So as other indie devs, we face the same set of challenges. One, first and foremost, is awareness. Second, resources. We're a small team which can't possibly do everything. And distribution, I guess that's really obvious. In terms of awareness, the old Guns to Icarus actually did really well for us, on Steam and Mac App Store, and we had an active forum. What we really failed at was to just really left it to Steam. We figured the game was on Steam, great, awesome. People playing, we're done. We really didn't leverage social media as we should. Not a lot of Facebook presence, not a lot of Twitter activity. The foreign traffic decreased over time, obviously, as the game, basically as the game got longer in the tooth. And while we're developing Guns to Icarus Online, we didn't do that good of a job in keeping the old players active and involved. So when it comes time for alpha and closed beta testing, well, we kind of have a problem on our hands, which is how do we recruit beta players? So we turned to Kickstarter, and that's really our first and foremost purpose of using Kickstarter. We were targeting about 1,500 beta players, thinking that that's really all we can handle before my partner Brian and servers explode. And we ended up getting about 1,800 closed beta players, and Brian sort of exploded. In terms of getting the word out, it's really kind of a virtuous cycle with Kickstarter. And Kickstarter is not really different from how you would get the word out as an indie developer, typically. So initially, we reached out to the old Guns to Icarus Online players, friends, and fellow indie devs to help us spread the word. But as we picked up momentum, Kickstarter did a feature. We were featured on the front page, which is great. Basically, game media such as Rock, Paper, Shotgun did write-ups, and we were featured on the IGDA Kickstarter page. So things kind of snowball a little bit, and I think between our effort and also getting featured, end up helping us push get us over the hump. So it's not like a game. Once a project is on Kickstarter, you automatically get all the buzz and all the notoriety. Now Kickstarter blew up, so there are obviously a lot more people covering now. But you still, as an indie dev, you still have to do a lot of the work, especially if you don't have a track record or people don't know about you. The second problem that we had was with resources. We're a small team that basically consists of artists, programmers, and designers. We're not composers, we're not sound designers, and we don't build our own server backend. So there's a lot of stuff that we just don't have the resources and knowledge to do. And we're a team in New York, and New York is expensive. So if we go to a sound designer in New York, they'll probably charge us $150 an hour, which there's no way we can afford. And surprisingly, Kickstarter was actually really helpful in this respect. There were a lot of musicians and artists, sound designers, and voice actors that ended up reaching out to us. This person in particular, his name is Zen Effendi. He's not some unknown rapper that you guys don't know about. He's actually a award-winning composer. So one day out of the blue, he emailed us and said that, hey, I'm Zen Effendi. I work with Hans Zimmer. Wow. And I saw your project on Kickstarter. I would like to compose for your game. And I stared at his message for a little bit, and I replied, there's no way in heck we could afford you. And that was that. But he actually wrote back and said that this is essentially what I found out is that this is his indie escape or his creative outlet. He was doing movie projects, scoring for movie projects, and he was looking for indie games and getting into games. So it actually worked out. We decided to work with him, and he was actually not cost prohibitive for us, and he turned out to be a great resource for us. So he's now composing the music for Gunstar Heroes Online. So I guess with Kickstarter, the lesson is that for us it was that Kickstarter was not only a financing and a marketing platform, but it was also a collaborative platform. People find each other on Kickstarter, and people end up collaborating, and that's pretty powerful in my opinion. And the third aspect of our dilemma was with distribution. How we got started working on Gunstar Heroes Online was actually with a publisher who was supposed to, I don't want to offend anybody, by the way, but he was supposed to fund our project, but sort of didn't. And along the way, we had a lot of creative differences. So on the left is what the publisher wanted us to do in terms of our style. On the right is what we wanted to do. In the middle is what we're supposed to compromise for. Anyways, the relationship didn't work out. And along the way, we suffered from creative control problems and funding problems. I guess, especially now, Kickstarter is really taking off. What Kickstarter can give indie dev is creative control, and that to me is more important than just about anything else. So now to taking a look at specifically what we did in our campaign. So we had about 15 different tiers, ranging from just straight up copies of the game, friend packs, digital gifts, and physical gifts. I'll get into that in a second. The majority of the players we found just want the games. They just want to back us and support us for what we do, which is really cool. But we still designed a tier so that each tier can still be rewarding and contributing to the entire campaign. I guess with any campaign, a big decision that a team has to make is, well, swag or no swag, physical gift or no physical gift. We end up deciding to do it, and we kind of broke it down into a few different pros and cons. So the pros are that it's memorabilia, it satisfies our backers' collectors' mentality. It's something tangible and something permanent that people can hold on to. So it's a memento for the game. And we wanted to do our pre-orders, so it's also a learning curve for us using Kickstarter as a trial run for what we're about to do for ourselves. And lastly, it was just fun. It was fun to just daydream about different gift items and trying to make it happen. But the cons is that it's highly time intensive. It took us maybe 4 weekends to package and ship everything. We did it actually ourselves. In hindsight, maybe not the smartest thing to do. But we also sketched into every logbook that we handed out. And there's also costs associated with it, obviously. So in addition to the material costs, there's also, Kickstarter obviously takes a percentage, and Amazon Payment takes another percentage. So you could be running 20 to 25%, if not more, for your campaign. And budgeting the cost is also going to be a little bit nebulous because you have to find the vendors and you have to figure out the shipping costs beforehand. And as it turned out, most of the backers really just want the game. Like I was saying, they want friend packs, they want the copies of the game, they want soundtracks. So physical gifts are really just something complimentary. It didn't make or break our campaign. So I guess for anybody who is starting with a campaign, there's something to keep in mind. Very specifically, the best gift, I actually have one. This is probably the last one. So whoever asked the question first, you can get a bullet USB. The USB, it turned out to be the best gift that we offered because it's lightweight, it's really small, it's easy to ship, easy to pack. It also has a really low per unit cost. And it's highly differentiated as it turned out. Richard Garriott actually came to our office just to check out the game and say hi. And so I gave him a USB stick. He was like, wow, this looks just like the bullet of my Gatling gun at home. So with that, enough for questions.
I see our favorite excited girl down front. She wants that.
Yeah, I can't really see you, but.
Yeah, you definitely had your hand up first. You had your hand up before he was done saying. That's it. Go ahead.
I think this is really interesting that you use Kickstarter. And did you feel any, well, actually I have two questions. Yep. One, there's a certain amount of risk with Kickstarter. If you don't meet your goal, don't they keep the money?
No, actually,
how does that work?
If you don't meet your goal, then the people who pledge will have their money back. I mean, no transaction takes place until the funding threshold is met.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And my second question is, doing merchandising, you said that ate up about 22% of your campaign cost?
For our entire cost, it's actually just on the material. It was in shipping. It was about 10%. But Kickstarter and Amazon Payment also takes a percentage each, so that everything added up to be about 20%.
And is this a downloadable game, or did you physically ship a product at the end?
This is a downloadable game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
And very cool merchandising. I think that's great.
All right.
Further questions? I see one there, one there.
So with your Kickstarter experience, have you considered or have worked on kind of doing it again? Or is it something that you can see going back to now that you've done it once?
For the same project or for different project?
Different project.
Yeah, I think I would definitely go back and try it again for a different project because, why not? It was fun to do, and it's really just an additional avenue to get the word out. So I think as an indie dev, I would never rule out any way to get the word out.
Was it the second project also?
Yeah. So we actually did a Kickstarter campaign for an earlier game that we did, and that worked out well, which is kind of what made me try it a second time. Yeah.
All the way in the back, there was a question.
Similar to the question about, if you were to do it again, what do you think of companies that are already established, and have profit margins jumping in to do a Kickstarter campaign? Do you feel as an indie developer that it's kind of invasive, or would you be pro, for those companies using it to gain a new customer base if it's something that they're trying to branch out into?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Kickstarter definitely started with the indie spirit, and that essentially bigger studios or bigger guys are catching on to. I guess as long as the fans are willing to back that project and fund it to success, then I don't really have a problem with that. I think it's great. But I think for indie dev, it's definitely more competitive. We did it 8 months ago. Compared to all the projects that are going on now, it's a lot more competitive. There's just a lot more stuff on Kickstarter now. There's no question. So it's probably harder for individual projects to get featured, I think.
Who's next?
Over here. Have you considered putting some as one of the prize rewards to have digital things that would be bringing to the people to the game,
actually,
like signatures of the people?
Yeah, a lot of the gifts that we offer are actually digital. So the physical gifts only end up contributing to like about 22% of the total pledge. So some of the digital gifts that we offer are like the standard stuff like soundtracks, like extra costumes in game, and so on.
Okay, what I meant is like to alter the art in the game, basically to maybe have a place where you have the name of the sponsors. Or
So yeah, we're doing that. So above a certain tier, like say $50, $100, the backers will get supporter credit in the game, and we actually did like our highest tier is 1,000, and there's a few people who pledge, and we're gonna actually draw a portrait.
So you're talking about creative control and how that was a better way to keep it. Well, what do you think about the companies that are using associate producer and executive producer tiers with the game? Do you think that would influence their Kickstarters and things like that, or?
Wait, using just basically
like
giving backers credit?
Say you pay $10,000 and
right.
all of a sudden you become an associate producer and you get more input on the game. Do you think that's a way to still maintain creative control, or?
I mean, I actually think so. I really don't have a problem with that because we take feedback from fans and players, anyways. So whether the person pledged $1,000, $10,000, or no money, if they're playing the game, they're obviously entitled to give us feedback, and we have to take the feedback seriously, anyways. So I think to me, it doesn't really make that much of a difference.
Who's next out there? Somebody back there, perhaps? No, total silence back there in the back right corner. Oh, I see a hand.
So what, if any, additional benefits do you see in being involved in Kickstarter beyond just the funding itself?
Well, essentially, I would say getting the word out, building a community. I think building a community is actually pretty key. I guess I only kind of touched on it. Kickstarter, I think Kickstarter backers are actually really passionate, especially when they like you again and started backing your game. Like the number of comments and messages we get are crazy, and they're actually really passionate. Like some of our hardest core testers and players, are backers. Who will sit through like crazy lags and play through like really janky graphics and whatnot, just to kind of help us progress the game. And we end up like, essentially if we choose to respond and engage, then that community like bond is actually pretty strong. So I think that's a really great part about Kickstarter.
Also PAX East, right?
Oh yeah. So I'll say generally, like, Kickstarter's been doing a lot more to, promote indie projects, not just on their site, but through different events. So we were part of the Kickstarter Arcade at PAX East, where they featured a bunch of indie games and indie devs at a room that they rented. It was awesome. We ended up getting a lot of exposure. So and they're doing more of that, which is really cool.
Any further questions? Oh, back left corner there.
So, sorry, perhaps I missed this part, but
right.
When you finished with Kickstarter, you said you didn't receive enough funding to finish the game, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what did you do next, and did somehow your participation in Kickstarter help you leverage and raise enough capital to finish the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we actually, when we did our Kickstarter campaign, at least we think we already have enough to finish the game. And some of that money is from the proceeds of the games that we made before. Some of it's from friends and family, and we had a whole thing with a publisher that sort of didn't work out. But anyways, altogether, we had enough to finish the game, we felt. So, I mean, I guess we never really looked at Kickstarter as like the primary source. Otherwise, at least at that time, yeah, we probably won't be able to continue. But I think now it's the landscape's changed.
Any further questions? We got time for a couple more even. Oh, back at the front. What would I do without you?
I know you said that you didn't raise all the money that you needed via Kickstarter,
Right.
and that you had a very limited budget, and the composer came forward, and you worked out a deal with him. And did you find that there were? How did you deal with the cost overruns or the ability to complete the project when you were underfunded? Did you feel like Kickstarter, a lot of other people came forward, or did you have to cut things, or how did you deal with the budgeting issue?
I think I guess that's just like how indie development, life really is. I mean, it's nothing new. Stress out about money, and resources on a daily basis. Yeah. So I mean, I think with Kickstarter, it's really sort of a bonus. I mean, we'll have to worry about that problem anyways.
Did you make the game you wanted though, or was the budget so constrained that you couldn't make the game?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question actually. I think that we're still making the game that we wanted to make, and I guess we just have to make smart choices. Obviously, we're a small team and we can't afford a lot of things, so we just really have to make smart choices. Yep.
Any last questions?
Or dumb choices over and over. One of the two.
No? All right. Well, thank you very much, Howard. Once again, Muse Games, Guns of Icarus Online.
Yeah, thanks.